Good morning. This morning we're going to take a look at the budget module and do a little budgeting to start the Road and Bridge program and the login. You can set your users login and everything through the Configure System Security module. From the quickest menu, if you enter a B from the keyboard about 3 times, it'll go to the budget module. You can also get to budgeting through the main menu. See the budget module here, or through the functional menu or other menus. Once you highlight the budget module, press enter, opens the budget module. This is where you list all your journal ledger account numbers. And when you list them, put in the current year's budget, the short description of that line item. If you want to spread the spending through the entire fiscal year, just click the check mark and then click OK. It automatically spreads it evenly. If you have, for instance, a capital purchase, you know it's going to go down in February, you just enter the total dollar amount here and then the total dollar amount in February. You can amend the budget with our amending budget module. So once you get the budget going, if you have a change in it, an official change, you can amend it, and then you have a record of all amendments. You also can keep the current fiscal year budget, and then once you have it, it rolls over to the previous fiscal year when you run the utility to roll it over. And then you can keep the next year's budget, so you can keep basically 3 years budget line item dollars live as you roll forward. The utility to roll those over are under Utilities, Fiscal Year-End Utility Wizards, and then you do a backup budget and set the next fiscal year to roll it. So you have a continuous rolling budget for you. Now, let's take a look at this particular line item. The fiscal year actuals show the budgeted dollars, and then it shows the actual spending against those dollars. You can also see we have in this particular line item, the 103.03 maintenance labor. We have a actual spending year to date. This is a full fiscal year. We're looking at our 2008 budget, our 2008 demo data set. We spent $208,681. We budgeted $203. We have $30,000 left to finish the year, and $38.26. And we also have an encumbered spending that hasn't been spent of $30,000. If we go down to that spending item, we can double click, and that brings us right into where you made the entry in the fund accounting side. This was just payroll to record the total payroll for that month, and to unencumber it, or to actually pay it and make it spent, click the OK. Then it's a spent budget. We still have a balance of $30,000. We spent $239, and the current fiscal year is $208. The encumbered fell out when we did allocate and spend the money. Reporting is under report module, and then the budgeting. There are several different ways you can run a budget, either just to see the allocated amount, or to see the budget against the spending for any given month or for the fiscal year. Excuse me. Some of the reports take a little longer to run because they have to pull in spending and then allocate it across month by month through the fiscal year. We also have a what if module, and we'll go into the what if module a little later on when we cover that module specifically. Spread this out a little bit. Basically, this module lets you look at your budget and then your actual spending and do some what-ifs on where you think you're going to be at the end of the fiscal year. Basically, when you open this, it reads your budget that you have in. You have to manually enter your revenues, because the revenues, we don't want it to mess with the actual revenues. These are what-if revenues, and they should pretty much align with what revenues you have coming in during the fiscal year. But basically, you just make an edit and add a line item or edit the dollar amount in at any given time. So we'll close, we'll calc this forward, and then we'll close this. We'll be back to the opening menu, and we'll say we had $15,000 left in our checking account at the end of whatever month we're in. We hit the calc button. Then it blows all of those numbers forward. It shows your you'll have bubble help on these to explain what the negative or positive number means. But it blows the dollar amount forward, so you can look at your projected expended through the end of the year, because this gives you an end of the fiscal year look. And at this point in time, it looks like if we had a negative number, we'd overspend. It looks like we're going to come out through the fiscal year with a surplus of about $100,000. This changes month by month as you go through the year, because it is date-centric as well as your revenue-centric and as well as your actual spending-centric. You can do some budget analysis. This takes a look at your total budget and your total spending against that budget. We'll do a calc variance analysis, and we see our variances month by month as well as the graphic of it. We can look at an individual, this is all of the funds put together. We can look at an individual fund analysis. We'll select C34202. Just click on it once it's highlighted, and then we see the spending against that particular fund. We'll take a look at another fund, double click on that fund. It takes a little cranking through because it goes out and looks at all the actual to the budgets, and we can analyze any number of funds in that manner. And you also can then blow those numbers on out to a little more sophisticated graph that lets you, then you can print it or send it out, take a picture of it, put it in a Word document or whatever. So it lets you pretty much with just a couple of clicks go all the way from your budget through the actual spending analysis, and then on out to a graphic analysis of budgeting. Later on we'll cover the Whatif module in more depth when we get to it. If you have any questions, give us a call or email. We'd be glad to talk to you. We can set up a custom webinar to do any training on specific items. Until then, see you next week. I think for next week we're going to cover the weed control module and the chemicals module within the weed control module. So see you next week. We'll have this webinar posted